So, welcome to the OWASP OWTF project, and I'll just go on to introducing myself. So, who am I? I'm Saurabh Nandedkar, and I was the OWASP GSOC scholar for the OWTF project this year, and I'm currently working as a DevSecOps engineer at Safe Security. I also do some web development, and I'm also an open source contributor. We do know that there are some problems, like some big problems with the world of manual pen testing, and those some of those are like complexity of the applications is continuously increasing. The lots of stacks are being currently used. So, uh, like for example, Node, Flask, all of these different application stacks that we know of, they are currently causing a lot of development in this world, and a pen tester needs to keep track of all of them, and if he actually wants to keep assessing all of them, the time that a pen tester gets to actually assess the security of an application is very limited. And the biggest problem of all is the pay that we get for actually scanning one application is very low as compared to the time that we invest and the effort that we put into it. So how can we solve this problem? So the answer is like the OWTF project. And the next question you may have is like how are you going to solve it with just a tool? I'll just show it to you in a bit. And the installation steps for OWTF are very simple, and it has Docker and like base Python installation as well. Very fast, very simple. It is designed for Kali, but you can normally use it on any other operating system as well. And this tool has like two major like interfaces, you can say. So one is the web UI, and the other one is like the command line interface. So I'll just go over to the web UI for a bit. And this is what the basic web UI looks like. You have various different tabs and various different options. We'll go over some of them. So a dashboard is where you will see all of your options, like the current scanning results and all of those things. Targets is somewhere you can add your targets. For example, google.com, and it accepts targets line by line. So you see, it also checks for what a particular URL is valid or not, and it will add it, it will check the IP. Then the simplest thing that you can do is go to the run interface, select an application, select all the plugins. So there are two particular menus that you can use to segregate plugins. We'll go over this in a bit, but like this is an individual plugin execution mode, and the another way that you can execute plugins is via plugin groups or by plugin types. So this is about the interface, basic interface, and we'll just run one. We'll run it. And these were added. The scan progress can be seen on the workers pages. You can also see the logs over here. Work list is where we'll see what all modules we selected and what all are executing. And settings is where you can set, customize according to your own requirements, what all you want to execute and all of those things. Network ports. Basically, the tool is very extensible. And let's go back to our slides. So that was basically what the UI looks like. to some extent. And we'll go over to the next slide. So what is the backend? What all things do we need to run this tool? So we basically need the latest version of Kali, and rest all of the things. It can basically set it up on its own when you clone it. So the make setup step that we saw before this, that will do everything for you. It has a REST API that you can use along with the React front end that we just saw. It is all written on Python, so very extensible. You can use Python modules to write scripts and then execute them from the front end itself. So this talk is basically all about the updates that we did, me and my fellow GSoccer, Aman. And the most requested feature for a long time was the authentication module. So I'll just go over to the authentication module in a bit. Just let me go back to the demo page. Thanks to Aman for this feature. And this is what the authentication page looks like. We have forgot password functionality as well, and as well we can register from the front end itself. It will send you an OTP, and with that you can also register users from the front end itself. The main issue that this solves now is OWTF before was not able to be hosted on public domains, and now this can be hosted on public domains and people can use them. But by all means, this has not been tested properly from a security perspective. So I would still urge you to restrict access to that particular instance to your members only. We'll go back to the slides. So as I said before, there are 3 plugin groups: web, net, auxiliary. So that inside the web group, the targets are basically considered as URLs. So this is just the web assessment. Then inside the net group, plugin group, the targets are considered only as network hosts. And inside the auxiliary group, the targets are decided by the plugin itself, like how they want to treat them, as network hosts, as some just a ping node, anything that a plugin want. And you can write these plugins by yourself, so you're free to do that. So in the last few days of our GSOC, we added this feature. So we can now create custom plugin groups, and these plugin groups can be created from the front end itself. So that like OWTF has a large number of plugins, like around more than 100. So every time when you are adding a scan, the attacker or the pen tester has to continuously click, and then run them. So this is some sort of a hassle. That is what we were trying to solve in this particular feature. So I'll just quickly pop over to the targets page back and go to run. So, wrong page. Run and select all of these plugins. I'll add them to the group. We can customize our group name. So I'll just write OWASP, create the group. The plugin group was now added, so I can just go back to the run menu. And as you can see, this group is present over here. And we can just launch this as a normal group and run it. We can also delete this group if we don't need it. So it will just be updated on the fly. Yeah. So the next thing that we were really like having some issues with is the front end UI was very slow. So this was what the status was around 4 months ago, and like this is what we are right now. So What we did is we implemented React lazy loading on each and individual pages. And once code splitting is the concept that we are using over here. So on the page, only then the particular site or the particular module of the site loads without loading it at the runtime. So before, when we just opened the site, it would take around like 6-7 MBs of data, and that would like have a bad impact on the particular user that is using the site. So just a sec. Yeah, like as you can see, this loads in segments, if you are able to see this. So this is what we have done. And like what are the next steps? Like what are we planning? So we are planning to update the documentation of our project, increase the stability of the project. As you saw, there were some like unstable moments before. And we are planning to add more and more tools. There is a big list of tools that we can currently use, and you can see them over here. So the description is also provided over here. So AJAX, WAPT, WTF, TLSSL scans using the TSSL scan library, Arachne, SMB, Metasploit modules also present over here. So all of these things we can use, and we are currently updating. The new thing that we want to create is a reports creation module, and this reports creation module can like create HTML reports for you based on the scans, or create a zip directory for all the scans or the tools that you run, and export the results right from the front end. As you saw, we implemented the authentication module. So the next step would be to assign user roles so that only a particular user can create a scan or start a scan on a particular website with some modules, some plugins, and only some users can just read the results rather than doing everything that they want. How can one contribute? So OWTF is like the project is hosted on GitHub, and you can just go over, create issues, and create pull requests if you can. So we would really appreciate that. And where can you find me? So this is my website, my GitHub profile, Twitter. You can also find me on Slack, OWASP Slack channels. So my handle over there is Saurabh Nandedkar. And thank you. I would be available on the Slack channel for any questions.